It's 11 p.m. and you're staring at a $200 jacket you definitely don't need, but absolutely want. Then you see it. That little green button. Pay in 4 interest-free payments of $50. Interest-free. The jacket's yours, you only pay $50 today, and the rest, future you problem. Except 2 weeks later, you forget. You were busy, and you already had 3 other pay in 4 purchases running that you also forgot about. And here's the thing that should terrify you. 41% of people using these apps missed at least one payment last year. That's not a small group making mistakes. That's nearly half the user base feeding a fee machine that was designed to look like a favor. My name is Sam, and I spend way too much time thinking about how companies have found creative new ways to make debt feel like a lifestyle hack. If you've ever used Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm, or tapped that Pay Later button without really thinking about it, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Because today, we're breaking down why Buy Now, Pay Later might be the most dangerous financial trap nobody's talking about. Now, before we dive in, let me be crystal clear about something. I'm not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. What I am is someone who's watched the Buy Now, Pay Later industry explode from a $2 billion niche in 2019 to over $127 billion in 2026. That's not growth. That's a financial wildfire. And when something grows that fast, someone is making a lot of money. Spoiler alert, it's not you. Let's talk numbers, because when I explain what's actually happening here, most people think I'm exaggerating. The Buy Now, Pay Later market in America hit over $107 billion in 2025. By 2031, projected to reach $258 billion. This is a payment method that barely existed a decade ago, now processing more money every year than the GDP of most countries. Over 86 million Americans now use BNPL services. That's roughly 1 in 4 adults. And the growth? No sign of slowing down. Holiday 2025 alone saw shoppers spend $10.1 billion through BNPL between November and Cyber Monday, a 9% increase from the year before. But here's where the numbers get really uncomfortable. According to the Federal Reserve, nearly 24% of BNPL users made a late payment. That's up from 18% just 1 year earlier. A Motley Fool study, 29% of users have missed a payment at some point. Among Gen Z users, that number is even higher. And according to LendingTree, 41% of BNPL users made a late payment in the past year alone. Only 47% of users actually plan their payments ahead of time. The rest either track loosely or completely lose track. Let me say that again. More than half the people using these services don't actually know how much they owe or when they owe it. Now, you might be thinking, at least these are interest-free loans. That's better than a credit card, right? If that's what you're thinking, that's exactly what they want you to believe. Because the interest-free part, only true if you pay on time. Miss a payment on Afterpay? You're charged $8 or 25% of the transaction. Miss one payment on a $50 purchase? That's $8 gone. Shocking stat. Klarna generated $472 million in junk fees in 2024 alone. That's 7% of their revenue from late fees, reminder fees, and even snooze fees. Yes, you can pay a fee to delay your payment. They've monetized procrastination. And those longer-term options? Affirm charges up to 36% APR. That's not interest-free. That's credit card territory, with better branding. But the real danger isn't fees. Pause. Serious. Psychology. When you see a $200 item with a pay in 4 option, your brain doesn't see $200. It sees $50. Educational tone. Splitting payments reduces the psychological pain of spending. That's why businesses offering BNPL see about a 27% increase in sales. Pointed. Not because people suddenly need more stuff, but because everything feels affordable. Direct address. And if you're thinking, I always pay on time, this doesn't apply to me? Knowing. You're exactly who they're counting on. Because even if you never miss a payment, pause, you still spend more. Let me show you how this plays out. Scenario building. You're shopping for running shoes. Your budget, $80. You find a pair for $120. Matter of fact, normally you'd close the tab, but then you see it. Tempting tone. 4 payments of $30. Realization. Suddenly, $120 feels like $30. You buy the shoes. Momentum building. Then you add socks, then shorts. You leave having spent $220 instead of $80, but it doesn't feel like $220. It feels like $55. Serious. Multiply that behavior across a year, revealing the trap. That's how people end up with multiple BNPL loans running at the same time. No single payment is dangerous, but there are a lot of payments. And now people aren't just using BNPL for clothes or electronics. Pause for impact. They're financing groceries. Disturbed tone. About 25% of BNPL users now use it for groceries. 1/3 of Gen Z users have financed supermarket trips. Absurdity in voice. You can even finance takeout. 4 payments for a burrito that'll be gone before the first installment is due. Serious. Warning. When experts start calling a payment method dystopian, that's usually a sign. This is how the BNPL debt spiral starts. Building the narrative. You use it once for something reasonable, then again for something less necessary. Then suddenly, you're juggling payments instead of managing money. Late fees pile up, stress builds, and interest-free, bitter, stops being free. Day to day, it feels like checking your bank account every morning, wondering which $25 is about to disappear. It feels like payment notifications you don't recognize. It feels like avoiding emails. Firm. That's not convenience. That's anxiety. So here's the practical part. Clear, actionable, like steps. Count your loans, all of them. Stop opening new ones until the old ones are paid off. Treat BNPL as debt because it is. And if you can't afford something without BNPL, you can't afford it. Warning sign. If you're using it for groceries, that's not a strategy, that's a warning sign. The buy now, pay later industry has convinced us that debt is convenience and that pain-free spending is progress. Wisdom in tone. But that pain, it exists for a reason. When you remove friction, you don't become financially free. Pause. You become financially untethered. Building to thesis. Debt is never nothing. You always pay later. Slow, deliberate. The only question is how. With money, with fees, with stress, or with a relationship with death that follows you for years. The next time you see that green button, ask yourself one simple question. Pause before the question. Would I still buy this if I had to pay the full amount right now? Wisdom, gentle but firm. Because sometimes the smartest financial decision isn't finding a clever way to afford something. Final beat. It's realizing that if you need to finance it, pause. Maybe you don't need it.